Hey y'all, I'm Hope here at Crafty Hope. Welcome. I'm going to work on an art journal page today. Last year sometime I did a video, maybe two, in which I started by selecting a sentiment to inspire a page. Now, I don't even remember who, but somebody said maybe that would be a fun series, and I thought, maybe it would be. So I'm going to try it. We're going to try maybe a monthly series of these Finding the Words, which is going to be a series that's inspired by a sentiment. As you can see, for this one, I pulled out three sentiments and decided of the three, the bottom one there that says sunlight followed them every step of the way was the one that was feeling the most real to me, the one that I felt like I could do the most with. Now, the top one I think said waiting in the welfare line, and then the middle one I think said God bless this child. But it was this one that I believe is cut from a large print novel. So I kind of put it aside and said, okay, don't lose it, because once I put something down on my desk, sometimes it just disappears. So I put it down on my desk and then began the process of just collaging a little bit on this single page in my little journal. I don't even know what that is, something from some kind of pamphlet. And then I think I'm going to use this piece of paper, which I believe is I think it's rust dyed, actually. I was thinking maybe it was eco printed, but it is rust dyed. The other side of it, maybe you don't get to see the other side of it, is like a roll off page from jelly printing. So it was something that apparently at some point I threw into a rust bath. And so this page didn't really need the thickening up. I just wasn't feeling the repetitive nature of the book page that was on the other side. So I thought, okay, I'll add a couple other book pages down. Yeah, there you could kind of see that little bit of jelly printing. I just felt like this would give a little bit of texture. And then there was something about the word. So this in general, the sentiment I use, first you've got the sunlight in there, which makes me think of like yellow and sun and bright colors and that kind of thing. And I had noticed in my like tissue papers, I have this, what is it called? It's a collage paper of some kind from Tim Holtz. And this is like, I don't know, like palette sample colors or something. It's the most colorful of these like Tim Holtz tissue collage papers that I've got. But I thought, okay, if I have a bit that has like the yellows on it, maybe I'll throw that down. And sure enough, I'm going to do that. I think I used my Ooh glue stick to stick everything down here. I kind of wish I had used my fluid matte medium, because some of the tissue of this, the opaqueness of it would have disappeared with a more fluid medium. But hindsight and all, it's going to be fine. It's not a focal element. It was just a way for me to get that kind of yellow color down there. And I think you can kind of see, I'm trying not to cover up some of that rustiness of that rust paper I put down on the right side, because I was really liking that. So I knew that was kind of go with it, like I said, a yellow orangey theme on here to get that sunlight portion of it. But the other thing that kind of inspired me in the sentiment was sunlight followed them. So them being plural in general. I knew I wanted more than one person. So it was going to have to be somehow, or even animals, it had to be plural, multiple for me in my head. So, yeah. So to add a little bit more, you can see here, to add a little more brightness on this and to make the papers I've stuck down a bit more cohesive, I did grab a little bit of white gesso and a palette knife and just kind of loosely spread that out on the page. From there, I got lots of brightening here. I need a little bit of like mark making or darkening or something. So I grabbed this stencil, and y'all, I can't remember what stencil this is. I think it's a Crafter's Workshop one. But I'll see if I can find the number or something on it. But I'm using some Payne's Gray acrylic paint and just, like I said, getting some mark making, couple of dark marks that aren't huge, aren't so important on here. So did that with a little cosmetic wedge because I did it fairly thin. It doesn't need to dry or anything, but I did step away and grab this picture. It's a Tim Holtz photo booth image And I picked this one with these two girls on there, probably sisters of some kind, if I had to guess. Um, and I am, because I tore it from the other two. The photo booth comes in like strips of 3 pictures. And so this was the bottom one, and I tore it off and I kind of accentuated that tearing on the top portion, but left the sides and the bottom kind of straight edge. So I knew that I wanted, you can see I've got that yellowy orange thread there. This is some basic like sewing machine thread. It's fairly cheap stuff, I think. That I wanted to add some like sun rays on there for that, again, that sunlight prompt. So I took my needle and poked some holes in there kind of to guide me where I wanted to put that thread. And I'm going to cut the thread down here and skip ahead to where I've gotten it on the needle. And I'll do the whole like fold it in half and tie it. So basically this thread is doubled up. Because it is sewing like machine thread, it's fairly thin. It's not like embroidery floss thread that's, 6 strands and all of that. So, well, I guess I skipped ahead on that. It took me a minute to thread this, so I kind of skipped ahead on getting it onto the needle because it was a bit of a pain. I did do a surgeon's knot on there just to make sure it was a little bit thicker and wouldn't slip through this photo booth picture. So I am using the holes I punched as a guide, but then going back in toward the edges of the card, I guess, or the photo, and trying not to go through. So I'm using that frame, like that black frame that's on there, as kind of a guide of where to stop so it's not too close to the edge. Now I'm going to here in a second realize how much thread I'm wasting by making basically the rays on the back as well. So I'll be like pre-punching the holes a little bit to kind of conserve some of the thread. Not that I think you're going to see any of this. I have sped this up a little bit because really it's just me stitching lines from the top of each of these girls' heads to the edges of this photo. And that's my sunlight, so like sunbeams coming out or shining down upon them because it's following them. So yeah, the sentiment thing really did inspire me. It's not how I usually go about doing an art journal page. Sometimes I let the materials that are on my desk or just kind of the mood I'm in, whatever colors that are appealing to me, I let that lead me. But sometimes I need a bit of a more prompt. And I know that doing a lot of prompted challenges like Art Journal Advent, and I think I haven't done Junk Journal January this year, but things like that often have like a prompt that are great for spurring. But sometimes when you don't have those prompts and you just sit down, you need something else. So I felt like pulling a sentiment or a focal can be that incentive that I might need. So I'm going to try to continue this series, like I said, every month probably. I did mark the thumbnail on this as January 2025, so I'm hoping I get this out before the end of January. It's been a rough couple weeks here. So I did ink the edges of that photo with some walnut stained distress ink, and I found in my scrap fabric stash this little bit of some kind of fabric that I think I dyed with something, maybe some sprays or something, in this yellow orangey color. I tore a bit down to have like a ribbon of it, and I'm using my 3-in-1 beacon glue, putting a little bit down and like ruffling that fabric along the edge. I thought about framing up the whole thing with this fabric, but decided that this one little strip of it was going to be plenty, just to give that pop of additional yellow on this page. And I don't know, I really, when I looked at this, it felt, even though I have the thread on the picture, the page felt very flat, like it needed actual texture, it needed some fiber element to it, and this fabric was exactly what it needed. So of that, I've kind of got that lined up, so I'm going to go ahead and use some more of that beacon glue to put on the back of this photo. But the photo booth paper is really, really thick. So a good sturdy glue definitely is helpful with it. I could have used my glue stick, but I don't know that I could trust that it would stick it as well as that beacon did. So now I'm going to turn to my sentiment, and it is a bit too long. Actual page, I needed to cut that down, so I'm cutting it into 3 sections that I felt kind of would naturally flow to break it up. So it's sunlight followed them every step of the way is how I'm breaking it down. So I am going to ink the edges of this as well, thinking that that would help this paper stand out on the page. And I'll admit it does not. So I'll fix that in a bit with another product. So first, like I said, it was a little fiddly to ink up that book paper because it was kind of thin and floppy, but I got it done. It's done. And now I'm trying to figure out where I want to put it down, and I'm going to grab my Ooh glue stick here to stick that down because, again, it's pretty floppy, thin paper. This glue stick will work perfectly for it. I'm trying to think what else I do. When I get it down, I'm going to start realizing that I don't have near as much yellow on the page as I would like for that bit of sunlight to kind of echo across the entire page. So I'm going to look at it, and then I'm going to grab some Liquitex acrylic ink, and I can't think of the name of the yellow hue. So I will put that down in the description box as well if I can. Yeah, I'll have it down there. And I grabbed a little palette that I'm going to put that ink into. First, I had to clean it out because, y'all, I'm awful about cleaning these cheap palettes out. And I'm going to grab a fan brush that's already got some water on it, so it kind of waters it down so it flows a little bit better. And I just splatter it on the page. I should have covered my picture there, but I just kind of, any of that got on my picture. You can see I'm just wiping it off with my finger. No big deal. I think I do dry this with my heat tool super quick just before, there I was like, okay, I think I'm done. And I was like, no, I need to do something. So I'm going to dry it and then come back in with a paper Castile Pitt pen and underline each line of this sentiment to, it is what spurred this whole page. It needs to stand out a little bit. So with that, this page is done. I would love to know what you think of this series. If you've tried something like this before, definitely let me know. And if you have sentiments you want to kind of throw in the pot, send them on. I can type them up or whatever. So let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for spending this time with me, and I will see y'all later. Bye.